Okay, perfect. So let's get going. Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming. This is business planning part 2, where we're going to kind of go through the second half of our business plan. We do have 1 hour of CE credit available. You can put your name and your license number into the chat and Venmo me. And here's what we're going to do. So this is going to be way more interesting if you guys share and interact versus me just talking at you and share live examples. You guys learn better from each other. So feel free to unmute or put a question into the chat. I am watching it, and we'll go from there. So here's what we're going to do today. So last time we met, we worked on defining where we are, defining our goals, and talked about some tricks to assess where we are. So basically, if we have an ultimate goal of where we want to end up at next year, we need to figure out where is that we want to go. That's defining our goals. And we need to figure out where are we starting from, so we can figure out how to get from point A to point B. So we spent a little bit of time last week talking through how to do that. And what we're going to talk about today then is we're going to take, our realization of where we are and where we want to go, and figure out what is our roadmap to get from point A to point B. So that's going to be our plan, right? Our steps that we're going to execute over the course of the next year. And then we're going to talk a little bit about accountability as well. So that's the plan. Does anyone have any questions before we get going? Nope. Okay, cool. So let's just check in. I asked you guys last time I didn't ask you, we talked about 5 different exercises that you can do to, figure out where you are in your current business. And I'm curious if any of you spend any time doing any of those exercises, and if you had any aha moments from that. I always have some good feedback usually at this point from someone who took the time to actually do it and learn something cool about their business that they hadn't realized. Anyone want to unmute and share something? We had, when we did this in Plano a couple of weeks ago, we had a Plano agent say she went home after part 1 and it was a rainy day, and she put on her pajamas and hunkered down to just really do the transaction audit. And she said they had done almost $15 million this year, and she didn't realize how much of their business was coming from referrals, specifically from past clients. And she admitted, she's like, we don't do much to really take care of our past clients, intentionally. She's like, so I can only imagine when we start applying some intention to our entire group of past clients, because they've been in the business for a while, she's like, where we're going to get our business to. So that was her aha, was realizing how much of her business came from past clients. And then when she was looking at her business activities, really how little they were doing to encourage that. So she was like, when we start doing things to actually encourage it, I'm sure it's going to explode. So that was a good takeaway. Does anyone else have anything like that? Did anyone do any of the exercises?
I did them. And my business is so small, but what I did realize is that it was even smaller last year. So I doubled my business this year with very little effort. So I'm thinking if I put just a little bit more effort, I definitely want to double it again next year.
There you go.
And then I will have a decent year.
Good.
But what I do know is, and I've said, but it's really easy for me to keep track of mine because like I said, it's small, but every single one of mine came from a referral or a past client. So, and
did you drill down and see specifically where the referrals were coming from? Did they all come from a networking group that you're a part of, or a neighborhood, or were they from all different places? Uh-oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Let me look here. I think they were just pretty much from, hang on. Well, I can't find the page, but anyway, they came from referrals from past clients or from other agents.
Okay, that's good. So that's telling. That's your other agents are trusting you because you're showing up. So that's a good telling piece of information for you, for sure.
So yeah, and I do consistently do some things to take care of my past clients, but I'm not getting as much business from my past clients referrals as I would like to get, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe you can think about the referrals that you did get from past clients and think about what you did for them and make sure that you're doing it for everyone. That's good. Anyone else have any takeaways from doing this? Looking at their transaction audit, doing a kind of an audit of seeing where exactly were the people that brought you the business, or what were the activities that you were doing. Hopefully you spent some time in your business and just became familiar with it. The reason that we do this is because we want you guys to do these exercises and be super familiar with your business, so that when you sit down to have a meeting with us to plan your marketing strategy and your marketing plan, we know all of the tools that Briggs Freeman has to offer, and you know your business the best. And when we sit down together, we can come up with a really perfect plan that's specifically tailored to you. So that's why we want you to kind of dive into your business and really be thinking about it and paying attention. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make an actual like time-bound actionable plan off of the goals that we made last year. We're going to start with our big goals, and then also lay out our like yearly activities, and then come up with like a weekly plan also. So we're going to make a plan. We've looked at our goals. We figured out where we were spending time and money this year. We've kind of have an idea of what we want to start, stop, and continue. So let's take all this information and put it into a plan so that next year you can just focus on executing, and you don't have to think about what you're going to do. It's not like, oh, should I do this or should I not do this? Like, you should already know what your plan is, and it's just a function of doing that. And that should free you up to give you more time to get more business, or give you more time to relax. When you know what you're doing, it's just a function of execution. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our original goal list and lay out when exactly those goals will happen in 2022. So it's pretty straightforward. You can turn to in your workbook, turn to page 5 is where your goals are going to be. Hopefully you wrote down your goals and you made them SMART, right? That should be on page 5. And remember, this was our sample like SMART goals that we did. So assuming that these are our like model goals, we're going to go to page 16 in our workbook, and you're going to see this grid there, basically. And this is I call this the quarterly vision wheel. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take our goals and lay them out over the 4 quarters, and so that, we're not trying to focus on all 12 goals all at once, right? Like, that's too much. That's overwhelming. So let's break them down and spread them out over time. Does that make sense? Has anyone ever done this before? The reason that we do that this way is because when you have annualized goals, meaning we have, say these 8 goals over the course of the year, we can start off at the beginning of the year. We have all this optimism, and that's the exciting part of the year. And then you get into the year and you're actually working on your business, and you realize you haven't spent any time on your goals. And then there's so many of them. And so then you get into this valley of despair, and you're like, man, I have so much to do. I haven't accomplished one goal yet. We're halfway through the year. Like, what am I going to do? And then people usually like give a little push and try to get at least a couple of their goals done by the end of the year. And that's not a successful way to execute all of your goals. And so when we stop thinking about our goals on an annualized basis, but start thinking about them in quarters, it makes it much more consumable and much less overwhelming. Does that make sense? Has anyone ever done this before? I've done this. I did this with a coach once, and it was so powerful for me to see to lay them out over the course of time, so that I knew I still had my eye on the prize, but I wasn't feeling overwhelmed and like I needed to work on it right away. So this is an example of those model goals we had like laid out over the course of the year. So, the one goal was like become more organized. And the way that I'm going to do that is by studying Microsoft tasks and really use it in my business. Well, that's a good goal that will help me for the whole year. So I put that in Q1, right? Q1 in January, February, and March. And then one of the other goals was to get more listings. And that goal had translated to improve my listing collateral in February. So that also became a Q1 goal. And then, one of the goals was sell 10 million in real estate. And then over the, when you look at your production over the course of the year, I know that like the bulk of the business happens in Q2 and Q3. So I said, if I can just sell 1 million in the first quarter and the last quarter, I can do 4 in the second and third, and I've hit my million, right? These are just goals. It's a visual for us to understand what we should be working on and where we're headed. And it's really, really valuable if you guys take the time to do this, because it's really easy to refer back to and just have a glance of like all the things you had thought about doing. You're not going to have goals that fall off your radar or that you just decide you don't have time for. Does this make sense? I've sat down and done this with a handful of you guys one-on-one since we've started doing this business plan, and it can be a little bit tricky, but once you have it done, it's like such a feeling of relief. So does it make sense how to do this? Any questions here from my very silent bunch today?
Yeah, Zareen, question. So the tranches of money for sell 4 million, sell 4 million, like say that at the end of the year, your production was total
10.
something,
Yeah.
right? So like the specific to each quarter, like it's sometimes not so easy to say that's going to be during this season or that season, but I guess you can plan it with your sales.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one's, here's the thing about all of these goals is that they're important, but they're not urgent, which means that no one's like, no one's going to
Yes.
be like, you didn't do this quarter, right? Except for you. So it just helps you to kind of schedule them and keep your eye on them. This is generally like the seasonality of the business here. I would say is that, the spring and the summer are busier, and then it dies down a little, it ramps up at the beginning of the year. So this was just a sample seasonality. Agents that have been in the business for a while will kind of know, they may say, you know what, I'm really busy in the spring and then I have a really strong finish. So they may have done 1 million, 4 million, 1 million, 4 million, right? Depending, it's just getting to know your business. And if you're just getting started, you may not know that. And also,
Yeah.
I mean, it may not happen. You may have one crazy $3 million deal close in the first quarter, and then you don't have as busy. It doesn't, you're not holding yourself to it. It's just a guideline to kind of keep you on track a little bit. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, it's like the underwriting, it might stray a bit, but
Yes. It's aspirational, but it's giving you
Totally.
something to look at. And in theory, we're going to be looking at this at least once a month when we check in with ourselves. And that will help you kind of keep your eye on the prize and not forget things that you intended to do. And I mean, it can be fun stuff too. Like on the first time I did this, I had like a trip to Napa and a trip to LA, like both laid out, and they didn't happen when I said they were going to happen, but they both happened that year, which was pretty
Right.
cool. So, it's just a good visual, and we're going to reference it. So I encourage you to do it. Does
Hey, can
that-
I share something real quick?
yeah, please.
Hey, first, I'd like to introduce my interns, Garrett and Andrew. They're with Keller ISD, and Keller ISD has a great program right now that is looking for interns. So if you guys would like any interns, I'm happy to talk to you about it. But what I wanted to share was my goal this year was 10 million. I'm going to come up short. I'm at 9.4. I don't think I'm going to reach the 10 million, unfortunately. But the way I did that was last year, I had my $10 million goal, and I used that between the Sotheby's and Ninja spreadsheet. I calculated that I had to have 65 weekly contacts to reach the 10 million. So when I knew that number, I knew how many people I could reach per week based on phone calls, the organizations I was in, the clubs, all that. So since I always had that number, as long as I could I knew how many people were in my poker group every week. I knew how many people were in my bourbon club every month. So knowing those things, I said, all right, I can reach this many people on a weekly basis around that 65. And getting in front of those 65 people every week, I was able to get to, very close to the 10
Very
million.
close. Yeah. That's
So I
an
do believe
awesome.
in the power of knowing those numbers.
That's exactly right. And Jeremy's doing exactly how we would recommend you do it when you make a goal, is you make the goal and then you back into what are the steps that are going to get me to that goal. Right. And that's what he did. He figured, he's like, his tactic is to make at least 65 touches a week. And he backed into it. And then he was able to take this big goal of selling 10 million and make it into a relatable, what do I need to be doing today and this week, which is what we are trying to build here too. So right now we're starting big with like, what are our big goals and when do we hope that they can happen? But that's an awesome example. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. And welcome to the interns. Okay. So hopefully you guys get this quarterly vision wheel idea. If you need help translating your goals to a time frame, I'm happy to do it and sit down with you, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just a good visual that you are going to reference. So I encourage you to do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Don't wait because you want to make it just get it up there. Right. I can always send you a blank copy if you need one. You can start over, but just get it done so you have something to look at. Okay. So then the second piece of creating a really good plan is to have a strategic marketing plan. And this one I cannot emphasize enough. The way that you're going to do this, and we have a whole method that will hold your hand and kind of do it with you, is you have to complete part one, especially your business and marketing activities review, so that you are very familiar with your business and your sphere and what's working for you, right? Like we need you to know your business. And then the second step is to schedule a meeting with your agent services manager so that you guys can together create a comprehensive plan that's specific to your business. And when you sit down with them, whether you're new or you're very experienced, and whether you have a very small budget or a big budget, we can help you figure out what that budget should be and then how to allocate it, and especially how to allocate it using what you already know works in your business, right? Remember when we did that transaction audit and this agent was like, man, my supper club brought me so much business. It's like, great. Okay, well, we can build that into your budget because those are business expenses, right? So if you know your business really well, we can help you build a really awesome plan. And your agent services managers, both Sherry and Catherine, are trained in this and really, really good at this. I had an agent telling me yesterday that they sat down with Catherine and did this, and they felt really good about their plan and that they felt like they had a really good strategy that next year they just have to execute. And after they met, she kind of followed up in writing and they felt like so good about it and exciting, which is what we want. The last step of that, once you have the plan, once you take a little bit of time right now to meet with your agent services person for an hour or so and come up with a plan, it's so much easier next year to just execute, right? And you won't have to be thinking about, should I do this or should I not do this? Because you know what you're going to do, you know what works. You'll probably leave a little bit of contingency in there for opportunities that arise, but for the most part, you're going to know what works for your business. I mean, one thing about Briggs Freeman is that we have this like awesome marketing department, and they're always coming up with like cool new ideas and options, but not every person needs to do every option. You need to know your business and know whether it's a fit or not. And it's really easy to like have FOMO and just want to try things and spend money. And we do not want that. We want any money that you spend on marketing to be part of a strategy that makes sense for your business so that you can track whether it works and whether it makes sense for you. And you're not like unnecessarily spending. Does that make sense? I know a lot of you guys meet one-on-one with agent services. Has anyone done this specifically with agent services before? Has come up with a written marketing strategy? I don't know if anyone on this call has done it. I can't see everyone because of my screen today. Okay. I'm gonna guess not, but the people that have and do, agent services are really good. Once you set up a plan like this, it's really easy to say, okay, we're gonna meet on the third Wednesday of every month and just figure out what do we need to do to execute this month and to be ready for next month, right? It's a function of being consistent, right? Consistency is the key. And when you meet with agent services, the marketing department has come up with this really awesome spreadsheet that they'll fill out with you or they'll help you fill out. And we have it in BF Office where you guys can download it yourself and do it yourself if you want, and I'll show you how to get there. But agent services can also sit down with you and do this. I think it's a really valuable exercise because, like I said, all you need to do is know your own business, what works, where your business is coming from, what doesn't work, who's your sphere, and then let us know what Briggs Freeman has to offer and how it might really work for you. So the first step, you can see at the bottom, this spreadsheet that they have is 3 tabs. And I didn't put this in your workbook because a spreadsheet in a printed workbook is kind of useless. It's like a living, breathing thing that you're going to go in and manipulate and click on, and it's very long. So basically in your workbook right now is it's just a general guideline about meeting with marketing and what they can do for you. And it tells you how to get to this particular document in BF Office if you want it. But the first tab is just a budget calculator, and you can put in your own numbers and figure out, and you can do this with agent services, like where exactly do you want to allocate your spend? And then it'll tell you how much you should be spending in each of these types of marketing. And it's different for everyone. This is not everyone is doing 50% digital, 30% print, 10% client appreciation, 10% sponsorships. I know agents that do only digital and client appreciation, and maybe they'll do 1 print per year as like a validator, right? So it's different for everyone. And you need to just talk through agent services, like what works for your business and what makes the most sense. But this is a really great place to start so that you know what your budget is and what your parameters are so that you're not overspending and so that you're spending enough, right? Enough on the right things. Any questions about this one? Okay. So then the next tab on the spreadsheet that they'll work with you is an actual marketing plan. And, I took a screen grab of it, and you can see here online audit. These are all the different marketing tactics that you might do. And this list, if you scroll, it goes on and on. But this was the most I could be able to screen grab and you guys be able to see. But you can see in this plan that this person's going to do an audit of their online every 3 months. And they're going to do the same for their contacts. And then social media posts, they've committed to do 3 Facebook a week, 3 Instagram a week, 1 LinkedIn. It just kind of, you make a plan and then you know what you're going to be doing. So in February, when you sit down to assess, like, what do I need? How did January go? And what do I need to be doing? You can kind of see what's on my agenda this month. Does that make sense? And it's a nice long list. You're going to be able to go through and come up with a plan for. So that's your marketing plan, and like laying out what you're going to do. And then the last one is kind of your communication plan. And this has all of our resources at the top. And then like, how are you going to be touching on people? And you can lay this out as well with them, and make sure that it's like specific to your business. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this. This is a lot of spreadsheet, and it can be like, where do I start? How do I figure this out? This is not something that you have to figure out on your own. Like, if you want to, can you? Of course. But I recommend you schedule a meeting with your agent services manager when we get out of this meeting, and say, let's sit down and come up with my budget and my strategy for next year. And then you'll feel really good going into the new year of like, I know exactly what I have to do. I don't have to like figure it out or be wondering every month, like, what's next? What should I be doing? Does that make sense? Any questions about this? Anyone? Okay. So if you want to find the spreadsheet yourself and start working on it, this is the button right here. So if you go to BF Office, the homepage, and you scroll down to marketing quick links right here, you will see this marketing plan resources. And that's where the link is to the spreadsheet. But also, as soon as you schedule your meeting with Sherry or Catherine, your agent services managers, they'll have it too, and they can customize it for you. And then you just save it, and it gives you your marching orders every month. And then when you sit down to meet with them every month too, you guys can work on whatever you need to be working on. Melissa's asking, where is the spreadsheet? It's in BF Office, Melissa. And in your workbook on page 17, I think it tells you how to get there. It's under marketing quick links on the homepage. So any questions there? Pull y'all, whenever I click on it, I lose y'all's faces, but I want to just be able to see ya. How are we doing? Gina, you look, I see some nods. I see smiles. Are you guys good? Okay, thumbs up. Awesome. We'll take it. Thank you guys. Okay. So our, we have our quarterly goal. We have our yearly goals laid out over the quarters. We're going to sit down with agent services and do a strategic marketing plan. And then one more piece that's going to be really, really helpful to you guys is to make yourself a yearly flow calendar. And this is a ninja idea of flow, right? It's like, how are you keeping in touch with your people? The yearly flow calendar is just another really good visual for you to lay out what are you going to be doing when. So this will all be in your marketing plan, but I put it here in this book because it's really nice visual for you just to be able to look at once a month and say, okay, February, what's next? March, what's next? And this is in your book on page 18 and 19, and the sample one is there, and then there's a blank one there. So as you're going through and writing your goals, and even as Jeremy did, breaking them down into tactics, you can write them here. Obviously, there's going to be some things that you're doing regularly, so you don't need to write it down. Like birthday cards are going to happen every month. Home anniversary cards are going to happen every month. Notes are happening all the time. But like, what are things that are special that you want to just remind yourself when you're looking at at your year at a glance, like what's going on? And this one, I will tell you guys, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. This one is made up and it's really robust. So there's something every month. Not everyone does something like this every month. So we used to have a master ninja here, and she would have, I think she did like 4 or 5 things a year, but she had it laid out so that she could see like, oh, my shred event, I always do in April. So she could start thinking in February, like, where is that happening? Who am I partnering with? Who do I need to call? When's the date going to be? And start marketing it. So when you can see it all at a glance like this, your big like touches, it just helps. So I encourage you to take a little bit of time and lay it out so that when you're checking in with yourself, you can see, okay, what's on my agenda coming up in the next few months that I need to be working on, right? If December, it's like, you got to do Christmas gifts. I was so proud of an agent. I think it was right after Labor Day, where she was ordering all of her Christmas presents because there was like a huge coupon. And she's like, if I do it now, it's like half as much as the cost as if I wait for a month or two to do it. But she knew that that was like on her schedule, right? So it's just a good way to help yourself be organized. Do any of you guys use a yearly flow calendar right now, just at a glance like this? Has anyone done this before? Anyone?
I start one every year. Does that help?
Yes. Well, that's okay. That's a good start. And I think the key is to make it not too overwhelming, right? So it doesn't need to be, and this one is really, really robust. Like I said, you may have 3 things and that's totally fine. You just want to keep your eye on the price so that they don't come and go and you miss it, right? Real estate reviews is a good one. If you're going to do those once a year or twice a year, put those on here so you can plan some time for those. Because again, this is all stuff that's important, but not urgent. So Jackie, you said that you're printing these. We have, I should have this on me and I don't. We have spiral bound copies of this at the office for you. So if you go to your office and ask, I think Sally at the front desk here has them.
I have one that I thought was blank that I realized Ted partially filled out. So I'll come grab a new one.
Yeah, you need a blank one. Sally should have a few more and your office coordinator should have one. So you can fill it out. And I mean, I have mine here. Sorry, my computer is sitting on it. So everything's going to go wonky for a second, but I've actually filled mine out, which you guys will love. It looks like this, it's spiral bound and it's all here because the hope is that you guys are going to reference this all year. And we're going to do like regular accountability meetings and go from there. Okay, now I'm crooked. All right. So any questions about this? Nope. Okay. Okay. So just to summarize, we're creating some visuals for us and we're creating a roadmap for ourselves. And the 2 visuals that we're putting in our book are the quarterly vision wheel and the yearly flow calendar. And you want them in this book because once a month, we're going to revisit this book and say, what do I have going on right now? I also encourage you to do the strategic marketing plan with your agent services manager and schedule a meeting with them once a month also, so that you're consistently executing the plan that you lay out for yourself, so that, you know, the budget's in place. And when you're meeting with someone regularly like that, and they're helping you stay accountable, you're just going to do a better job of figuring out what's working and what's not working and, you know, staying on top of your plan. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. That's included at Briggs Freeman. It's such a good resource to have someone who wants to facilitate your own private marketing person, right? Like take advantage of it for sure. Any questions about that? Nope. Quiet again. Okay. All right. So spend a little bit of time and fill these things out, just like you did your goals and your affirmations. Fill out this quarterly vision wheel and your yearly flow calendar, meet with the agent services person, and then you have a really good plan. You know what you're going to do. It's just a function of executing next year, right? So these are all the hands in the air, since you guys are so chatty, is how am I really going to stay committed to this, right? Like you've spent a little bit of time now doing this. Probably if you really sat down and did all of this work, it might take 2 to 3 hours. So if you think about the return on your time for spending 2 to 3 hours now of having an actual plan to stick to next year, that's huge. If you're the agents, you all run your own businesses, you need to have a plan of what you're going to be doing. And it's only going to get better and better. Even if you just take baby steps this year, it'll get better every year as you get better and better at it. So let's talk about how we're going to stay committed to this. I'm going to re-show you this slide, and you've seen it before, but it's that it's a study done by the clinical psychologist about the ability, what makes you most likely to achieve your goals, right? And the first group had goals that were, she just told them to think about their goals. The second group, she told them to write their goals down, which we are going to do, right, in our book. The third group, she said, write actions down, but not necessarily goals. The fourth group, she said, write your goals down and tell a friend at work. And then the last group, she said, write your goals down, tell a friend at work, and check in regularly with that friend. In the study, they had to write a weekly progress report. They didn't even have to like have a meeting. It was just write a weekly report. And that really helped them stay accountable. You can see that the people that did all of those steps achieved 76% of their goals because they were doing all of these things. And so we've built what I've built here at Briggs Freeman is some accountability for you guys. Like I can lay all this out and try to make it as easy as possible and like host these meetings. But at the end of the day, like you guys have to show up and do the work, right? And this is all work that's important for your business, but it's not urgent. So, because you can bounce along next year and like get business and do deals as they come up, and you might do fine. If you're intentional about it, you're going to do so much better. And you'll be more in control, right? When you start tracking and measuring things and paying attention, you just are in more control of your business. And that's a better feeling. You'll sleep better at night. So I encourage you to take advantage of all the things we're about to talk about so that you can make this good plan for yourself and then actually stick to it. We have a group, and we just did the meeting yesterday. You guys saw the calendar invite of this core group of agents that have been showing up every month, and it's really, really helping them. Pat Safian has done it religiously, and she's had a phenomenal year because she kind of just kept herself on track and kept up with her book and stayed on top of it. And it does work. It's just a function of committing the time, right? So once again, we don't want you falling in the valley of despair. So we are making our goals quarterly, and this is how we're going to stay accountable. And really, when we did the 12-week year, we talked about how the accountability meetings wasn't because you're being accountable to me or we're being accountable to each other. It's like you have to be accountable to yourself. Like it's your own business. So you've done the first step, or you're partially done with the first step, right? Which is giving yourself the gift of setting these goals and making a written plan. So hats off to you guys for being here. I'm super proud of you. Not all, probably a little less than half of our agents have bothered to do this. So good for you guys. Like you guys should be at the head of the pack for sure. Then take this plan. So then once you have the plan, once a month, you're going to stop and you're going to fill out your numbers at a glance and figure out what happened last month and what needs to happen this month. And basically, this is in the back of your book also. It's like a little space. It's a monthly check-in for you. And so at the end of January, what we're going to do is we're going to write down our January numbers at a glance, which you'll remember we did a whole 2021 at a glance. If you do this every month, it's much easier to do your whole year at a glance, right at the end of the year. And then you're also going to look at what needs to happen in February, your tactics and your to-do items. And so basically, you're going to go back and look at your yearly flow calendar. You're going to look at your quarterly vision wheel and like break those things down into tactics. And it'll be a lot easier for you to stay on track of what you're going to do. So you need to do your monthly check-in. And then you also need to find some way to share your goals with someone and stay accountable to someone. I love that Gina and Tammy are taking this class together because they can just be buddies and like check in, right? Find a buddy, do the 12-week year program. The key to sticking to your goals is regular accountability to someone, like on a weekly basis. And some of you guys did the 12-week year program with me this past right before Thanksgiving. And we're going to do it. We're not going to do it every quarter because it's a lot of time, but we're going to do it again the first quarter to help you guys learn the pattern of how to take a big goal, focus on one goal for 12 weeks, break it down into tactics that you're going to do every week. So basically what the 12-week year looks like is you take your goal, which we've already identified for Q1, and you're going to break each goal down into tactics. And then you're going to spread the tactics out over the course of the 12 weeks. And then you follow the weekly routine. And what the weekly routine is that every week you figure out, you're going to make a plan for your week and figure out, okay, I have these 6 things I need to do that are going to move me closer to my goal. And then at the end of the week, you say, okay, how many of those 6 things did I do? And you go to a weekly accountability meeting and you share. And that weekly accountability meeting is the piece that sounds a little bit silly, but it's really the piece that I would say anyone who's in here that did the 12-week year is the piece that like helped us push to get things done, because you want to go to that meeting and say like, I did all of these things. And I will tell you, for me personally, the 12-week year program was so helpful because it forced me to get something that I'd been it was something that was important, but not urgent, which was getting my CE finalized, getting the courses approved, and actually teaching the class and figuring out what that process was. I have been licensed to do this since the beginning of the year, and I just hadn't bothered to do it. So I made it my goal, and now it's done because I really did make it something that was kind of like looming over me and I wasn't sure how to do it. I broke it down into steps and did it. I don't know if anyone in this call right now was on the 12-week year. I can't see everyone who's on there, but those of us. Oh, well, share away.
No, I'm driving. I'm sorry, but I'm really listening and staring in between stop signs on the
Be
screen.
careful.
No, I did want to say something about that because you're so right. It made me accountable. Like I was like, I can't get on this call without doing what I said I was going to do. So,
Yeah.
and it made me like analyze every single little step that I needed to get done to get to that goal, which I probably would not have taken the time to really figure that out. So
Yeah.
whoever hasn't taken it, I think that's a great idea to do it first quarter, Zareen.
Yes.
Just to kind of get moving. But I got a lot out of that class.
Good. Well, thank you. I think it's good because it really does. It's like Melissa says, like, we're going to start the year and we're going to have all these goals and it's like all these different elephants we want to eat. It's like, okay, well, let's ignore most of the elephants and just focus on one or two and then break them down into how are we going to eat this elephant. And you take a little bit of time. Again, this is all like a function of taking a little bit of time to plan, and then you're so much more effective. But you take a little bit of time to take that goal and break it down into steps. And then it doesn't seem so overwhelming because this week I just need to do these 4 steps or these 2 steps or these 6 steps. And it really makes it so much more approachable. So I encourage you guys to figure out what your figure out what all your goals are. But then in Q1, join us and take a goal and let's break it down into steps. And it's amazing what you can accomplish. I'm intentionally doing it in Q1 because I know you guys get really much busier in the spring market, but usually there are things you can do in Q1 that will help you do better, right? If it's better listing collateral, if it's a better organized checklist, if it's whatever it is, right? If it's ordering your closing gifts up front, if it's laying out your birthday cards for the year, whatever it is, like just get it done now and then execute. It's much easier. So thank you, Melissa, for sharing that. Okay. So one thing I was going to ask is you guys all got yesterday we did a monthly accountability for our 2021 business planner and everyone at the company got that. And I know a lot of people were like, I don't know what this is. So what we're going to do this year is I'm only going to send those accountability reminders to those of you who opt in and want to receive it. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a small core group of people that are committed to achieving their goals and want to show up and like check in with themselves every month and really get it done. So if you want to be on the list to receive that monthly accountability reminder, send me an email right now or whenever that says, Zareen, be sure to add me to the monthly accountability and I'll put you on the list and I'll make sure you guys get the invite every month. So that then hopefully you can show up. I usually do it. It's probably going to be like the first Tuesday of every month in the afternoon. That way you can know when it's coming and I'll even send you all the dates in advance. But if you want to opt in, I'm not going to send it to everyone anymore. So opt in now and you can be part of that monthly check-in where we're stopping. And it's basically you're scheduling an appointment with yourself to stop and like, look at this once a month, look at what you did last month, look at what you're going to do. And it really helps if you do it. It's just another step of accountability, like Melissa was saying. So does anyone have questions about that? Anybody? It's pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys, we've been talking about how your goals are usually things that are urgent and are not urgent, but they're important, right? Like they're important to you because they're your goals. They're going to make your life better. They're going to make you happier. They're going to make your life easier. Whatever reason you're setting these goals, it's because they're important to you and they're going to make your life better or someone else's life better, right? So usually your goals are things that are important, but not urgent. And those are things that you have to specifically schedule time for. A lot of the stuff that we do as agents are urgent and important, right? Like things that there's a deadline. If you don't get it done, someone's going to be like, what the heck, Z, we're supposed to get this done by this time. It's a deliverable, right? Like I need you to meet me at the inspection. You have buyers coming in from out of town. Like that's urgent because it's time bound and it's important, right? They're your clients. Writing an offer when there's a deadline, that's urgent and important. You just got to do it. You don't get to choose when that happens. Picking up your sick kid from school, that might be urgent and important. So those are all things that have to happen, right? Now there's things that are, and this is another thing that happens to us a lot in real estate, is that there's things that come up that are urgent and not important, right? That are not things that you necessarily have to do. And when you think about whether something's important or not important, just because something's not important doesn't mean that it's dumb. It just means that it's maybe not something that you necessarily have to do. You specifically don't have to do that, right? Like we recently hired a nanny to come and pick up my stepkids on the days that we have them, because that way I can stay at work for that much longer, because it's urgent that they get picked up, but it doesn't need to be me, right? It doesn't need to be Matt. As long as someone's picking them up, that's great. So we delegated it out and it was like a game changer. So things that are urgent but not important can be delegated, right? Like some social media stuff can be delegated, dropping off checks. You guys don't really have to do that, but stuff like that can be delegated. Opening doors, get an assistant, that can be delegated, right? Like for plumbers and things like that. Some emails can be delegated or automated, like your meal prep at home, like that stuff could be delegated. So things that are urgent and not important can be delegated. And then the last things that are not urgent and not important, and that's stuff that's just like garbage that you probably don't need to be doing, like playing a game on your cell phone, or, I have social media on there. Some social media is important for work, but getting stuck in like the rabbit hole of TikTok for 3 hours is definitely not urgent and not important. So it's just garbage, and don't do it when time is our most precious asset, right? So I share this with you guys, and anyone that's taken like one class with me knows that I talk about it all the time, because it's a really, really important way to help you guys think about your time and also think about your tasks, because some of the things in this business are urgent and important, but I think we label a lot of things like that when they're urgent, but not necessarily important to you, right? Doesn't need to be your priority just because it's someone else's priority. And I know we're in customer service, but this is just a good way of thinking about your tasks that come up. The other important piece of this urgent and important matrix is that you have to understand that the stuff that's important but not urgent is the stuff that gets pushed to the side. And then it's the stuff that doesn't get done. So even though it's important, because these are the things that are going to help you grow your business, like having awesome listing collateral is really important to your business, but there's no deadline on that, right? It's not urgent. Is it important? Super, but there's no deadline that you're going to have a test on a certain day and you have to get it done. So you have to schedule the time to do things that are important, not urgent. And a lot of your goals are things that are important, not urgent. And you got to just schedule the time to do it and be really good about protecting your time. Melanie Frank always tells the story about the 12 o'clocker. And I'll share it here. It's because it's a good example. When she was a baby agent, she was touring, and she was at the listing of like a mega producer, and it was in the morning, and the producer's phone rang, and she was talking to a group of agents, and she's like, oh, that's a 12 o'clocker. And she set her phone down. And Melanie was like, well, what's a 12 o'clocker? And the agent was like, I know what this person needs, and I know why they're calling me. And I could probably answer their question, but then I would stop having this conversation with all of you guys. She's like, so I'm just going to let it go to voicemail. And I'm pretty sure that someone else is going to be able to answer that question, the next person that they call. And if they don't, I'm going to call her back at 12 o'clock. I make all my return calls at 12 o'clock. I mean, we're in real estate, right? Like we're not curing cancer or, helping people survive heart attacks. Like there are things that are urgent in our business, but for the most part, we're answering questions. And yes, we're providing customer service, but things can wait. So as long as you're setting the right expectation for people and ultimately providing a service, like it's okay. Now, is she going to wait until 2 days to call them back? No, she's going to wait until lunchtime to call them back and just block that chunk of time out, which I think is an important lesson for you guys to learn. It's okay to do that. Like I have, and I'm sure you guys have all been on the receiving end of this, where when you call me or text me, or when you call me, I have some auto responses that say like, I'm in a meeting right now. I can't talk, but I can text. And that way you can be like, oh, sometimes it's like, this is too hard to text, call me when you're done. And sometimes the people will be like, oh, I have a quick question about this, and I can just answer them right back. So you can customize your like phone responses to kind of prompt people to do what you want to do, and also to like set expectations about when you're going to get back to them. One of them says, I'm on another line, I'll call you as soon as I'm off. So that's a good one too. If I really can call them back in the imminent future, I press that one as my response. If I can't, I press the other one and they text me, and then usually I can see what it's about. And if it's something super important, I'm going to step away and go help them. But usually it's not, or it's something I can answer over text. So you can still provide really, really good customer service without being available 100% of the time. Because if you're sitting down finally to create that amazing listing collateral, and you need 2 quiet hours to do that, or quiet hour in front of your computer, if your phone keeps ringing and blowing you up with random things, you're not going to get as much done as if you just put your phone down and focus for this 1 hour. It's okay to call them back in an hour, right? I know that makes you guys really uncomfortable, but I promise you'll be more productive if you do it and protect your time. I thought that story of the 12 o'clocker is just a good illustration of that, of like a top producer who did that. So any questions about this? I talk about this a lot because I think it's really important and I think it's really helpful. And in the customer service industry, like we're in, like it's really hard to do. So I want to keep reminding you guys that it's okay. And if anyone has a few times when I brought this up, people are like, I do think about my time this way and it does help. So if you have any experience with this, please share, because it helps agents to hear from other agents versus me just chattering on. Has anyone been thinking about their time this way? I'll say to you guys now in conversation, because at this point I assume everyone's heard it, like this is important but not urgent. Or sometimes they're like, I'm so sorry, like I had buyers come in town, and I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? That's important and urgent. Like you should do that. It's just a good way to think about your time. So, okay. One quick piece is calculating your income per hour. This is in your workbook on page 7. If you want to do this, the reason that I include this here is because it gives you the opportunity to decide whether it makes more sense to delegate something or not, right? Like with us hiring the nanny to like drive the kids around, I felt so bad, but then I was like, this is not the highest and best use of my time based on what we're paying her versus what I can be making when I'm working, right? So if you know your own income per hour number, it helps you figure that out. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate social media so much, I don't want to do it. And if you took the time to calculate your income per hour and you're like, I'm spending 7 hours a week doing this thing that I hate, and you may realize it's actually more cost effective for me to delegate this out to someone, and you have that like thing that you hate to do off of your plate, and it's making economic sense for you because you have the value of your time that's so valuable can be spent doing something else. Does that make sense? So it's a good number to know. And of course it's an estimate because we're not like lawyers that have to specifically track our time spent, but it just gives us some perspective on, can I farm this out or not? If I can hire a transaction, if it takes me 10 hours to do reach out and I can hire a transaction coordinator for X, you can just do the calculation and see whether it makes sense. And you can be freed up to have more free time to enjoy or to go and do something else that's a money-making activity, right? So I encourage you to think about your time that way, right? Like you're running your own business. Okay, so we're almost to the end. We're basically at the end. The question is, what's next, right? Like we have our stated goals. We have affirmations so we can stay in the right mindset. We have a quarterly vision so we can look at our goals and get a feel for them. And we have a yearly plan, a yearly flow calendar also. We've sat down with marketing. We have a strategic marketing plan. Like we've got all of these good, awesome pieces in place. We have this available to us, this accountability plan if we want it, so we can check in with ourselves weekly and monthly. We understand the importance of our time and how to schedule it. We've got all these good, awesome pieces. Like what next? And I set this up in Plano, and one of the agents was like, well, now we jump off the bridge, because she thought my picture, she thought I had a bad picture choice there, which maybe it is. No, we don't jump off the bridge now. Now we go and we do it, right? You have to just decide, I'm going to do it and commit to it. Really, like we can facilitate as much of this as possible and want to help you guys as much as possible. But at the end of the day, it is on your shoulders to really, really decide and to do it. Jack Canfield always says, like, you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going. And I think that's right. Like once you start, just chip away at it and you'll get there. So does anyone have any questions about that? Just decide and do. I think the thing about you guys is that you're an elite bunch and you're really hardworking and you're really smart and you're really, really good at what you do. And you deserve to have everything you want, and you can have everything you want. You just have to do the work to get there, and you just have to decide. And this is my quote from my favorite friend, Oprah. And I think it's really, really important. I think it captures a lot of what we're talking about. Like you guys have all the right tools. You deserve whatever you want. You know where you're going. You just got to do the work and get there. And basically you have to decide that's what you want. Oprah says, you know, the commitment to do well and to be well is a lifetime of choices that you make daily. The space to live in is not, I'll try. It's not, oh, I really want to, or I really, really want to. It's just, I have decided. And once you decide, you're just in motion and you go and you do. So that's all I got. That's pretty much it. It's simple, but not easy, right? Because it's not easy. It's because it's going to take a little bit of time and thought, but all of these things are things that you can do. And the other thing is that all of these things are if you get stuck, like there's people that want to help you. Like I want to help you, your manager wants to help you, your agent services manager wants to help you. So let us know that your peers want to help you. So let us know if you get stuck and we can help move you along. You have every tool and resource at your fingertips. So let us help you get where you want to go. Okie doke. That's all I got. I feel silly just sitting here talking to a screen. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Send your opt-in email if you want to get your monthly accountability and join me. Send me an email, just say, Z, I want to join, and I'll add you. If you want to do a one-on-one or you have questions about goals or anything like that, let's do it. I'm happy to do it. If that's what's going to get you to do it, do it. And if this business plan doesn't speak to you and, you know, someone else's business plan does from a title company or from Sandesh or whatever, that is awesome. And we will support you in that. Just figure out what you can do that will work for you and do it, because you're going to get so much farther with the plan and with intention. So
Thank you,
you guys
Zareen.
for coming. Yes, thanks for coming. Did you have a question?
No, I just said thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Dawn, for coming. Thank you guys all for coming in, for hanging in there with me. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help. I'm so excited to keep working with you guys and see where this all goes. Okay, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Serene.
Bye, thanks.
Zareen,
Yes.
one thing, I could not get the Venmo to work. Did
Huh.
anybody else have a problem with that?
It has
every
been
time I-
working.
Every
don't
time
you-
I go to it, it says, whatever you tried to do it again in a few minutes.
Weird. Dawn, why don't you enter your Venmo name into the chat and I'll request it from you.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And the rest of you guys, if you want CE credit, put your name and your license in there. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.